Here's how the verdict went. Both were found guilty on the racketeering charge. That involves the conspiracy that involves the rest of the gun trace task force, using their police powers to rob people and steal overtime. They were also found guilty of robbery and found guilty of overtime fraud. There were multiple counts on each of those that they were found guilty of. The two were acquitted by the jury on the federal gun charge. That's the use of a gun in a crime of violence. They were acquitted on that count. That charge carries a minimum mandatory sentence. Even so, these two defendants are looking at very severe penalties, up to 20 years maximum on the counts on which they were convicted. We've heard from the lawyer for Daniel Hersl. Bill Purpura said his client was, quote, devastated by the verdict, and said obviously they have to respect the jury's verdict. Speaking right now in front of the courthouse, all the way behind me, is acting U.S. Attorney Steve Schenning. He said the U.S. Attorney's Office is very satisfied with the case, cited how this case started a long time ago with the overdose death of a young woman in Harford County. That led to a drug investigation, and it was in the course of that drug investigation that former Detective Mamadou Gondo showed up on a wiretap. And once that happened, that started the corruption investigation. So there are long tentacles of this case. And as the FBI has said in testimony in this case is not over, even with these guilty verdicts today. We do have a statement from the Baltimore Police Department. I'll read that in part. The statement says, "We recognize that this indictment and subsequent trial uncovered some of the most egregious and despicable acts ever perpetrated in law enforcement. I am thankful for the FBI and BPD Internal Affairs Division for their professionalism while investigating and preparing this case." That, again, is coming from the police department. So, again, two former detectives, Daniel Hersl and Marcus Taylor, found guilty on 3 of 4 counts in a federal corruption case: racketeering, robbery, and overtime fraud.